Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Thursday, the 14th of January, 2021. We are in session IJ4 today in your notebook. Please have your notebook out so that you can take notes today. I do expect to see those. Your I can statement, which also goes in your notebook, is I can use specific techniques to make certain words, phrases, and lines pack a punch in my writing. We're talking about powerful writing today. In class, we will talk about that academic vocabulary that we use when we talk about journalism and why that is so important to get your mind in the right place to write something that is strong and powerful. We're going to talk about being on camera, and we're going to talk about packing a punch in your writing, being really, I guess direct would be a good word, but more than that. And you'll see what I mean. And I want to show you something I'm going to add to our homepage, which is a monthly planner. A lot of you look at the calendar. A lot of you look at modules. A lot of you look at assignments. You look in all different places for what you're supposed to be doing. I get emails from you about that. So I'm trying to streamline the situation for you. Your assignment list, it looks long, but it's really not today. The first thing you need to do is complete the story that you started Tuesday. On Tuesday, I asked you to write the first paragraph of your story. And today I want you to finish it in your notebook along with the other part of the story. So you do not need to resubmit that. All you need to do is finish your story. Paragraphs 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 if you need it. Whatever you need to do to get your who, what, when, where, why, and how into your story. So today you need to finish the story that you began on Tuesday. In your evidence of learning, it's going to ask you to do that. I added it to it so you wouldn't forget. So when you look at your evidence of learning, it's going to talk about that. But let's begin with the academic vocabulary. One of the most important things to know about journalism is that you really have to make sure that what you're saying strikes people, that it affects people, that they're really reading what you want to say. And Roy Peter Clark has written a lot of journalistic pieces, but he's also written a lot about journalism. And he's narrowed down a few things for us so that we don't have to think about it so much. He uses terms like it says here, grace note. He could say a fancy word, but grace note just sounds more elegant. And it gives sort of a lift to it. Fancy word doesn't sound so fancy, but grace note kind of does. So I want you to look at some of these things today, and I want you to put them in your notebooks. So when you're describing the parts of your story, some of the things that you have to include, you need to have a lead no matter what. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to have a lead. That's that sentence or two sentences at the beginning that pretty much tell the story. If you don't have that, you don't have a story. You start out with that most important, most powerful, most active piece. A lot of times you can use what's called an anecdote. An anecdote is a small, like a side story about what's going on. It's kind of like an I remember when type thing, although you cannot say I. You can tell a little side story that kind of gets people entertained a little bit. A vignette is a small scene. So if you're talking about something that happened at the playground today. You can create a vignette, a small scene of the activities that were going on. If there was a mugging there at the park, you could create the vignette about um, while this was going on a few feet away, there were 5 little girls playing jump rope and they had no idea what was going on. It gives the readers something else to focus on that puts everything into perspective for them. Closure is basically just tying up the story. It's the so you see part. So you kind of re explain everything in the closure, but in a shorter form. And trajectory, hopefully, you know what trajectory is. It's just the path of the story. Where is this story going? What's the point you're trying to make? So, those are sort of the technical parts of the story. Those are the moving parts, the things that you need to consider as you're writing. Do you have to have all of these things? No. You do have to have a lead. You do have to have closure, and you do have to have a trajectory. But the antidote and the vignette, you can play with those, have them or don't, have one, not the other. Kind of up to you. But on the other side, these are more important words to me, words to describe the message. Now we're getting into how the reader's going to feel about what you're writing. So, are you being provocative? Are you provoking their interest? Or are you just being boring? Boy walked across the street. That's not provocative. That's not interesting. But if you say, a 9-year-old boy raced across the street today to get to his cat who was climbing up a tree, you're getting a little bit more active, a little bit more provocative there. Inflammatory. I don't recommend that you be inflammatory in your journalism, only because you are not there to express your opinions. So, to be inflammatory might mean to pick a side, and you really don't want to do that as a journalist. But insightful. When you say something that's happened, you can explain what that means in the big picture. Funding for the firefighters was cut from $800,000 for the next fiscal year to $300,000. That means that they will not be able to buy the new fire truck that they needed. They'll have to cut back on the number of firefighters, and ultimately that will mean that you, as citizens, might not be as protected as you could. Insightful. What does that mean? What am I thinking about? Discerning. Again, discerning is kind of like just figuring it out. Sometimes when you're talking through a story, it comes to you that you're going, oh, that's what I mean, because you don't really even know what you mean yet. So that's why you have to edit your writing so that you can discern what you really mean, what's really going on, and why you're telling the story. And to be opaque means to be sort of clear, sort of to be able to the reader should be able to read your story and understand why you're telling it. So there's a lot there, but these are words that are important as a journalist. If you look, and I'm in session 4, Think About It 2, and there is a mentor newscast here that you can read. I'm not going to read it to you. I would rather that you read it on your own so that you can read it out loud and understand what's going on and see if you can find any of this in the story. Anything of these words: provocative, inflammatory, insightful, discerning, opaque. Is there any of that in this story? Okay, so let's go back. The next thing I want to talk to you about is being on camera. When you're on camera, you have to make sure that you're not agitated or fussing or, I don't know, you're not scratching your head or picking your nose or anything like, things you don't want people to see you do. And it's difficult sometimes. It's difficult sometimes. So I have recorded that mentor text that I just showed you, and I want you to go and watch this video. You will see I'm down here in the corner, so you can watch me as I read this text. And I want you to see what I do. And I'll grant you, I am certainly not perfect. I don't like being on camera either. Um, but I want you to understand something. There's a difference, and you're going to see me in the video do this. There is a difference between telling a story and reading a story. When you tell the story, your eyes shift, your mind might wander, you use a lot of ums and uhs, and well, you see, it's kind of like when you watch news on television, those journalists, they're reading off a teleprompter. I'm sure you all know that. They don't just memorize these stories, they're reading them. There is a teleprompter by the camera that they're looking into, and they are reading the story word for word, verbatim, so that they get it right. That's what you need to do when you, and I watched several of you do this with your recorded videos before. You were very uncomfortable, and I get that. But you'll be a lot more comfortable if all you have to do is read your story. So before you get on camera, before you record your video, and you will be recording a video for IJ4, write out your story exactly how you want to read it. And when that camera comes on, just read your story. It's really quite simple. So watch this video, and you're going to see me do this story both ways. You're going to see me and ah, and then you're going to see me read the story. See if you can see the difference. How much more impactful is it when you actually are direct and read the story? All right. So make sure you watch that video. I'm not going to show it to you because you won't be able to hear it. Let's talk about packing a punch. This is also in Learn About It. And packing a punch, it relates to what we were talking about before. You want to make that short writing powerful. This is something that should go in your notebook as well. This anchor chart, this should be in your notebook. Make sure you put it in there. You need to include specific, vivid, physical details. And this is not, it was a dark and stormy night. This is not on a dark desert highway. This is more specific details about what happened, and then you can set the scene later. A police officer was shot in Mount Holly at a car wash. The physical details of the officer being shot, where it was at a car wash. Dare to use a single elegant word or a grace note in an otherwise straightforward prose. So that means that every once in a while you want to throw in one of those, one of those $10 words. If you do not have any of those kind of words in your lexicon, you can use a thesaurus. But take a word or two in your story that maybe seem really common and go to a thesaurus and look up synonyms for that word. One of the ones, and you probably hear me say it a lot because it is, it's a big part of my I guess my words my lexicon is the word lexicon. Most of you would probably say vocabulary, and you hear vocabulary all the time, especially in school. You have a vocabulary test. Get the vocabulary for this story. Vocabulary. To me, lexicon is a more elegant word. So find those elegant words. If you don't have them, find them. That's why we have a thesaurus. So those grace notes are the elegant words that you can sort of throw in to kind of pick up the life of the story. End the passage with a delightful jolt, a clever ending, something. And if you heard my recording about my cat, I ended that with sort of a jolt of, I guess, entertainment. It's a way of making sort of an observation about what happened in the story. And then keep it focused. It all has to be about, and here it says what it's really about. Tell me the story. Don't tell me the side story. Focus on it. Eyes on the prize. Okay? And if you scroll down a little bit more, here are your techniques for making short writing powerful. Include specific details. Use those single elegant words. Does this sound familiar? End the passage with a delightful jolt. Keep it focused. Where did we hear this before? Isn't that what I just talked about up here? So if they've said it twice, I think you better make sure you have it once in your notebook. To write a news story, journalists do what? Add this to your list also. Remember, we talked about some things on Tuesday, and we also talked about them on Monday. Raise the level with suggestive details, grace notes, delightful jolts, and a unified focus. You want to be a little bit, not contradictory, but you just want to put a little spice in your story. Make it not controversial, but almost borderline controversial. It's hard to do, and you're going to have to work on it. But I want to see what you guys can come up with. They have a couple of songs down here that they would like you to listen to. And again, I'm not going to play them right now, but you can certainly listen to them. The first one is Respect by Aretha Franklin. And the second one is Single Ladies. They're both about respect. They're both about honoring something. And that's what journalists do. Journalists honor the story. They honor the truth. They don't twist the truth. They don't make up a truth. There is not one truth for one person and one truth for another person. Truth is truth. Honor it. Respect it. Respect your writing and respect your readers. All right, so let's go back. We're almost done. So before I get to the story for today and the evidence of learning, let me go down here. Yesterday, I posted a Greek and Latin quiz. That needs to be done by Friday. Please remember, when you do that quiz, the way I set quizzes up, you see one question at a time. And once you answer that question, you cannot go back. So make sure that you are focusing, you're paying attention, and don't rush through the test. If you rush through it, you're going to make mistakes. Even if you knew the answer, you might accidentally hit the wrong answer and hit submit, and it's like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Well, too late. Too late. So don't rush through it. You have plenty of time, but get it done. Remember, anything not turned in by midnight is a 0. Period. Many of you found that out last week. So, um, the first thing that I have on your assignments for today is to complete your story from Tuesday. Again, you wrote the first paragraph of a story on Tuesday. I've had a chance to look at a couple of them. I was pretty busy yesterday and didn't get to look at most of them. But go back and look at what you wrote. Decide if, based on what we talked about today, you can make that writing better. What words can you change? What sentences can you alter? How can you make it a stronger story? And then finish the story. Write paragraphs 2, 3, 4, 5, like I said, in your notebook. You're going to finish it in the same place that you wrote the first paragraph. Finish it in the same place that you wrote your first paragraph. I hope everybody understands that. You do not need to resubmit that URL. I already have it. If you submitted it to me in session 3, I already have it. If you did not submit it yet, then in session 3, you have to submit it. Let me say that again. If you did not submit your paragraph 1 URL in session 3, go back and submit it there. You will not be submitting the second part of your story in session 4. I will get the whole thing from the session 3 submission. And let's look at your evidence of learning. Let's see if I have that up. I do. All right, so evidence of learning looks kind of long. But in part 1, it's telling you exactly what I just said. Finish your story. Put it in your notebook. Okay, so let's scroll down to this part. Make a video. I want you to go back to some of the stories that you've written. If you see one that you think you can make better, I want you to rewrite it. Rewrite that story. Make it better. Compare the two. See what you can do differently. Write it out and ask yourself these questions. Can you bring out more meaning from the story? Can you think about the overall language that you used? Can you step that language up? Can you do the work that Roy Peter Clark was teaching us? Those elegant words, those elegant notes, those powerful words that he says you should use. Can you apply that to your story? You can. The question is, will you? So you're going to take the old story and make it better. I know we all think when we write things that they're brilliant and that they're golden and they shouldn't be touched. I'm the same way, especially when I write poetry. When I write a poem, once I'm finished, I'm like, it's perfect, it's magnificent, I wouldn't change a thing. And then I go back and look at it a few days later, and I want to smack myself in the head and say, what were you thinking? You need to fix this. This isn't right. That doesn't work. It doesn't flow. So you need to step away from your writing and then go back and look at it with fresh eyes. That's why I would like you to use an old story, a story you've already written, even if it's the one from Tuesday. Look at it and make the changes that will make it a better story, that will make you a better writer. If you don't have anything that you want to use, you can write a whole new story, but still apply what we talked about today. Use those grace notes. Be provocative. Use an anecdote. Create a vignette. Do the things we've talked about. And once you have it written out exactly the way you want to say it, I want you to record your newscast here. Now, some of you are really skittish about that, and I still would rather that you recorded it. But if you absolutely positively cannot face that, then write your story in a text box on this page. But if you write it, I'm going to look at everything: grammar, spelling, punctuation, and the elements that you need for a good journalistic piece. So you can either record a video of your news story that you read on camera. Read it. Don't just tell it. Read it. Or you can write one. This, of course, is also due at midnight on Friday. So you'll notice down here submitting a text entry box or a media recording. So you can just add a text box to this and type your story, or you can hit record and do a media recording. Either one is acceptable. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all I have for you today. I guess I can show you the monthly planner, what it's going to look like. It's not finished yet. This is a work in progress. But this will appear on our homepage, hopefully by Monday, maybe before. But I will have the month laid out for you, and these will be links to your assignment. Like for today, this links to your assignment. So you can just click on it. It'll take you straight to the assignment. Keeping in mind, even though there's a link to your assignment here, once you get to here, this one's locked. Remember, everything's due at midnight on Friday. But you will be able to see what we have coming up. I've got NC check-ins on Tuesday, NC check-ins on Thursday. That means Monday's a holiday. Tuesday, we don't have live class because you have NC check-ins. Wednesday is an independent work day. Thursday is NC check-ins. You will have at least 2 sessions to deal with next week. They will be recorded sessions. So just like you're listening to a recorded session of me right now, there will be no live session. You won't come to class. This will be asynchronous next week. But you will have sessions. We will probably do sessions 5 and 6 next week. And you are responsible for those sessions and that work. And I will be sending a video out to explain more about that in detail later. But hopefully this planner will be on our homepage by Monday. I'm sure I can get it to you by Monday. And you don't have school Monday anyway, so I'll probably get it done before that. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you work hard on your stories. I hope that you think about what you're saying and be clear in your points. I want to see some powerful writing. And I will talk to you later. T2 out.